Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2014 Indiana Base.
I can hear you. Am I supposed to? Conference 4 years. We were state champions 4 years, and then my junior year we actually went on and ended up being sixth in the nation and the NAIA. So had some great times playing baseball and sports in general.
We're talking with Gary DeHaven here, one of the inductees into the 2014 Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame. And Gary coached in the state of Indiana for 42 years, and that led you into coaching. Then in 1971, you became a baseball assistant at Hamilton High School, then eventually took over the head job in 1972 through 75 at Hamilton High School, became the head baseball coach there. Talk to me a little bit about how you got into coaching, what led you down that path, and then how things started those first couple of years there at Hamilton High School.
It actually started, I would say, back in 1964. I had a coach that mentioned that he asked me what I was going to do after I got out of school, and I said, well, I think I'm going to go into business. And he said, well, I always thought you'd be a good teacher and coach. And so he kind of planted the seed. And actually would end up being the superintendent at Hamilton Community Schools and hired me for my first teaching and coaching. And from then, it was kind of a zigzag. I went to Huntington. That's where I grew up, and was wanting to move up in the coaching there, but it just kind of it didn't work out like I thought maybe it would. And I had the opportunity to move to Kankakee Valley, and I stayed there for 7 years, and then ended up the majority of my time out at Benton Central.
Yeah, absolutely. 1987 through 2012, the head coach at Benton Central High School for 26 years there. That's how I originally got to know Gary. I actually had a chance to interview him for a couple of times prior to this broadcast. Myself and the late Dick Bird had a chance to call a number of Benton Central baseball games back in the late 1990s. You had some great teams during those years and some great players as well. Talk a little bit about your coaching career at Benton Central. I know you're going to be presented tonight by Dick Atha, who was a great athletic director at that time as well. When I assume he was the one that hired you as head baseball coach at Benton Central.
Yeah, actually in 1987, my team at Kankakee Valley, we won the sectional, and that was the first sectional they ever won in baseball. And we went on to play in the regional. We actually played Lafayette Jeff. And I had a pretty good left-handed pitcher by the name of Tom Riska. And we beat Jeff, and then Benton Central beat us that evening.
Okay.
And actually beat us, it was either 5-4 or 4-3. It was a really good game. And then the next year, Tony Primavera, who was the coach at Benton Central, he left, went to Jeff. And so the opening came actually late in August. I'd already started coaching football. I helped with the football team, and my athletic director said you should take that job. Said you could win the state championship there, and so I called him, got an interview, and luckily got the job. Yeah, Dick Atha is, he is Mr. Benton County. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about that. He bleeds green and gold. Great
Absolutely.
guy, and I'm sure tonight he is going to entertain us to no end.
Well, there's absolutely no question about that. Dick is one unbelievable person, and the audience tonight at the awards ceremony will be thrilled when he takes to the mic to present you. Some of the awards at Benton Central and throughout your coaching career: 3 district coaches of the year, 9 conference coaches of the year, 10 times 20 or more wins in a season, 2001 team at Benton Central, 28 consecutive wins. 1970 Distinguished Choosier Award, 2010 voted the Health Teacher of the Year here in the state of Indiana. I mean, to you, what are there some things that stand out amongst your coaching career over 42 years? There's got to be some things I think that would have to be at the top of the list. What are they?
Well, I would say probably I would say first of all, I had a lot of great players, and that that in itself makes you a good coach. And then the second thing I would say, I had lots of help, and I got into a really good place at Benton Central who they love their baseball, basketball, and of course their girls basketball. Mm-hmm. And we're in a great area. We've had state championships from McCutcheon, Harrison, Lafayette Jeff, and Central Catholic. So to go in that area where baseball was important, it really helped. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed the Indiana Coaches Association. It's been fun today, to see all the guys, especially many of them that I coached against over the years.
Well, one of the things about coaching in Benton County and having the broadcast of games there with WIVN, as I said, there's not a lot of wind block out in that area. At least there wasn't at the time. They've actually since then they've built a lot of windmills out there in the county, but. One thing about calling games at Benton Central, depending on what the way the wind was blowing, if it was blowing in, there was going to be a pitcher's game, and if it was blowing out, it was going to be a hitter's game. So I imagine that was one of the challenges you had to deal with coaching out in Benton County.
At the beginning, it was one of those things that I made up my mind that wasn't ever a factor. And I tried to emphasize that to my players. I always said we got the advantage. People come here. They don't like to come here. It's cold. It's windy. And the more I emphasized that, I think it helped. And we always felt anytime we played at home, it was to our advantage. And then now the windmills, what can you say about them? I think there's one, if you look directly right through home plate out, we have one directly in the line of sight. Again, we try not to emphasize that. But it's been, like I said, it's been a great place to be.
Well, one of the things that always impressed me about your teams when I was calling the games was how competitive they were to begin with, and then what gentlemen the players were. I mean, they just carried themselves in such a gentlemanly way at each and every time out.
Well, I think that's a tribute to their upbringing. You know, we're a rural school, and many farm kids, small communities, and they're great kids. We had some really great, like I said, great players, and just a great place to be. Teaching staff was excellent. Administration was great to work with, you know, especially Dick Atha.
And, of course, while I was out there calling games, you had a pretty good assistant who's also in the Hall of Fame as well by the name of Tim Bourdonnais. He's now at Lafayette Central Catholic. You just talked about the great coaching lineage and players from Lafayette area. He's won 5 straight Class A championships, now moving up to 2A at Central Catholic. He was an assistant for you for a couple of years.
Yeah, I think Tim's probably going to run out of fingers to put those rings on, because he is a great coach. He did a great job for us. I was fortunate to have him there for 3 years. And, you know, I think, I forget what year it was, we were lucky enough to win 28 in a row. And a lot of that he helped with.
Well, Gary, we'll just sum it up here. What does it mean to you to be inducted into this Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame here later tonight?
Well, I think anytime you get chosen by your peers, that's special, you know. And I've been to, I don't know how many of these I've been to. I even hate to say how many I've been to. And everyone is different, and everyone is great. And like I said, the Indiana High School Coach Association and all the members and all the staff, they do a tremendous job.
Well, Gary, congratulations on the honor. We have a great time tonight at the banquet, and once again, thank you for being here and joining us here on the Red Carpet Show.
Hey, it's been my pleasure. Thank you.
That's Gary DeHaven, the 165th inductee into the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame. He's nominated by Ty Callaway, also a Hall of Famer here in the state of Indiana, and be presented tonight by Richard Dick Atha. We'll take a short time out here on the IHI Broadcasting Network, and we'll come back with another inductee right after this. Welcome back, everyone, to the Indiana Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame Inductions Red Carpet Show here on the IHI Broadcasting Network. I'm Eric Eaton. We're going to visit now with Coach Dave Bischoff, the 168th inductee into the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame. Dave is the current head coach at New Haven High School up near Fort Wayne. He's been the head coach there for 29 years, recording a record of 533 wins and 317 losses. And Coach, thanks for joining us here on the broadcast, and congratulations on being inducted into the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame. And what does it mean to you to be inducted into the Hall of Fame later this evening?
You know, 31 years ago, I think I came to my first clinic and not knowing what to expect. And I think it was about 25 years ago they included the Hall of Fame inductions. And you sit there the first time and think, oh, man, the kind of work those guys put in, and you really can't imagine what it takes. And then all of a sudden to get a phone call and tell you you're one of them, yeah. It's a humbling experience, to say the least.
Well, Dave, you also were a player in high school and also in college. Graduated from Belmont High School in 1975, went on to Indiana Purdue Fort Wayne, graduated from there in 1980, played baseball at both stops, Belmont and Indiana Purdue Fort Wayne. Talk to me a little about your baseball playing career before you moved into coaching.
Well, if we counted on my baseball career, I wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. You know, I was a grinder. I loved the game, and I was fortunate enough to play at a place where I got to play. You know, we had some success there. Halfway through my college career, I played for Larry Windmiller for who later became the Bishop Dwenger High School coach. We became competitors there. And it just, the more I played, the more it kind of moved me toward coaching. I wanted to stay in the game, and the coaching afforded me the opportunity to do so. And I think that I look back now, and it seems like every game I played was kind of a prelude to my coaching career. And so I've been fortunate enough that I've been able to stay with the game.
Well, it says here you started out as an assistant at New Haven in 1981 to 82, then went to Norwell for a short stint as an assistant there from 83 to 84. And then in 1985 you came back to New Haven, was hired as the head varsity baseball coach there, and you've been there ever since. So what led you back to that point in 1985 where you became the head baseball coach at New Haven?
Well, I didn't have a teaching job right out of college, so I subbed for a couple of years. And Don Hummel hired me as assistant because I was subbing there. And then a full-time teaching job opened up at Norwell in the 83-84 school year, which I took, of course. And then when Don Hummel retired, Don called me up and said, "Hey, I'm getting out. We have a teaching opening in your field. You ought to apply for it." And with his kind of endorsement and the fact that I had some familiarity with the school and the program, I was fortunate enough to get that teaching job. And so that's how it all played out for me. I was very fortunate.
Well, you've won over 500 wins at New Haven, 3 Northeast Hoosier Conference championships, 10 sectional championships, 3 regionals, 3 finishes in the Final Four at New Haven. Talk to me a little bit about some of the great teams that you've had at New Haven and some of the things that stand out in your coaching career.
I think the thing that stands out is the fact that we've been in a great conference. I think since we've gone to class baseball in '98, there's only been 1 year that somebody from our conference hasn't made a Final Four appearance. In fact, all 3 years that we made a Final Four appearance, we were in 3A, and there was another school in our conference, DeKalb, and then twice Carroll, that they were made a Final Four appearance in 4A. So it's been a very tough conference, which I think helped us in the tournament route. It's funny when you look back, it wasn't your best teams that advanced necessarily. You know, it's a little bit of a break here and there that kind of took you over the top. You don't remember the wins at the end of the day. You just remember the kids that played for you and the impression that maybe you left on them, and more importantly, they left on you. And that's probably what I remember the most.
We're visiting with Dave Bischoff, inductee into the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame 2014 class here on the Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association Inductions Red Carpet Show. And Dave, you just talked about remembering the players, and 2 of those players were your sons, Matt and Kyle. They played for you. It says here they were also on one of your teams that won a sectional championship. That had to be quite a thrill, being able to coach your sons to a championship.
It was extremely fun, extremely memorable. Matt was a pitcher, Kyle was a catcher, and I just remember trying to step back and enjoy it as a father and a coach at the same time, and sometimes that wasn't very easy. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. Probably one of my most memorable experiences was Matt and Kyle were just in a groove calling pitches. You know, Kyle calling pitches, Matt and I said yes. And I wanted to take a little pressure off Kyle late in the game. He was only a sophomore, so I decided to call a couple pitches. Kyle put down the number, and Matt shook him off. And Kyle put it down again, shook him off again. And then Kyle pointed over and said, "Dad called it." And at that point, Matt, "Okay, I'll throw it." So that's probably one of the memorable experiences, having 2 sons play for you.
Well, one of the things we also should talk to you about, Dave, is you've been a past president of the Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association. Of course, they put on a great clinic here each and every January. In fact, we had a chance to talk to Ken Schreiber one year, and he called it the best in the country, second to none, the Coaches Association and the clinic. And talk to me about your tenure when you had the opportunity to be the president of this organization.
This is an outstanding organization, and it has very little to do with the fact that I've been a part of it. Bill Jones, Ken Schreiber, Jim Reinbold, those guys set the foundation in 1971, and I was fortunate enough to go to my first clinic when I was still in college, 1979. And just the amount of dedication and commitment they put to the program raised the bar and set a standard that coaches coming into it that stuck with it realized that you better do it right. And those guys were pretty, they set it so high that I think it's improved baseball across the state just by the standards set by our association, the way they put on a clinic, the North-South Series, and just all the things that they've done for thousands of baseball players and student athletes in the state of Indiana. And I think it's made our association one of the best in the country.
Well, Dave, what's going to be going through your mind tonight when you get a chance to take to that podium at the awards banquet and a chance to get a chance to speak and knowing that you're now a member of the Hall of Fame?
I don't leave anyone out thanking them. And I'll say that tonight. Say this tonight that Bruce Miller a couple years ago when he was inducted in the Hall of Fame made the comment that everyone here loves baseball or loves someone that does love baseball. And I look out on the room and I think of all the people that either loved me or loved baseball that have influenced me. That's tough to put in 5 minutes. Thank you. So that's part of my concern.
Well, congratulations on the honor. Have fun tonight at the banquet.
I will. Thank you very much.
That's Dave Bischoff, 116th inductee into the Indiana High School Baseball Hall of Fame. He'll be nominated and presented tonight by Ken Jones of Huntington, Indiana. We'll take another short timeout. We'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back to the Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame Inductions Red Carpet Show here from the Sheraton at the Keystone of the Crossing in Indianapolis. We're moving along now. We're going to talk with the 166th inductee into the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame, part of the 2014 induction class, and he is Coach Henry Ayers. Henry had a chance to coach high school baseball at both Christney and Heritage Hills High School for 31 years, compiled a record of 473 wins and 201 losses. And Coach Henry Ayers, thanks for joining us here on this broadcast, and congratulations on the honor.
All right, thank you. I really appreciate it.
You were nominated by the Veterans Committee, and you'll be presented tonight by Steve Merkel of Santa Claus, Indiana. And let's talk a little bit about, you were originally from Kentucky, played high school baseball, you told me beforehand, at Lewisport, a small high school there for 4 years. Also played basketball, then went on to Kentucky Wesleyan baseball and also played for 4 years there as well. Can you talk to me a little bit about your playing career before you actually went on to become the head high school baseball coach at Christney?
Well, probably the first organized baseball I played was for a legendary coach there in Owensboro, and Jack Hicks. He asked me to play American Legion baseball with him there, so that was my first really interest in organized baseball. That was in 1956. 57, I graduated from high school and played with a men's league there. But my sisters were at Kentucky Wesleyan, and they talked to a college professor, and he invited me to play baseball on the college team there. And I'd never even considered going to college. I was a country boy there, and I was working with my father on the farm there, and he had given me a couple of calves to kind of, I think, incite me to stay on the farm. I had 3 older brothers, and 2 of them was in the Navy, and 1 of them was in the Air Force, and they weren't going to come back to the farm. So anyway, I sold my calves and went to Kentucky Wesleyan College, and I played there for 4 years. But probably the most baseball that I learned had to do with summer baseball. Whenever I was playing for Kentucky Wesleyan, a couple of guys came and asked me to play baseball at Rockport in the IK League, the semi-pro league there. And I wasn't too hot on the idea because I knew it was a tough conference, and a lot of college players were there and ex professional players. But they offered me $25 to come and pitch for them in games. So I said, well, $25 is $25. So, but that was probably the most learning experience that I ever had in baseball. Those guys, there were 3 or 4 veterans that had been in the league for a long time, and they kind of took me under their wing. And the manager there, Joe Hargis, he kind of treated me like a son. So I learned a whole lot of baseball there. And maybe the most important thing that I learned, that I thought maybe was characteristics of the teams that I started coaching, was to compete. I mean, I was out there, I was 19 years old and probably weighed 140 pounds. But those guys took care of me, always supported me. And we had one old guy there that whenever I'd be out there on the mound and I'd be in a little trouble, I'd look around for a little help. And there wasn't any help there. I mean, nobody in the bullpen, and I mean, we didn't have a closer, so I was it. And this one guy, every time I'd get out there, he'd holler out there, "Bow your neck." So that became kind of a calling card for me, and I think it was another thing as far as, like I said, you know, I don't know where the phrase came from, but it was something that I kind of remembered. I knew it meant to buckle down and don't give up and do the best you could. So that was, you know, my baseball career started there as far as participation, and I played for those guys for 7 or 8 years there in the semi-pro playing career. And I played a little bit afterwards too, but most of the time I played there at Rockport, and that was a real learning experience for me.
Well, it says here during your playing career you had a no-hitter in 1961 at Kentucky Wesleyan, and then another one in 1965 as a part of the league championship in a semi-pro league game. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I was pitching at Kentucky Wesleyan against Evansville College, and we had a no-hitter there. And like I said, a little tougher league there, the semi-pro league, and in the league championship we had played a team from Evansville there that had some nice players, and we won the league championship on that win.
Well, then you eventually got into coaching high school baseball here in the state of Indiana, originally at Chrisney, and then Chrisney was consolidated into Heritage Hills High School in Santa Claus there, and then became the head baseball coach there as well. What led you into coaching there in southwestern Indiana?
Well, Chrisney and Rockport are only about 10 miles apart, and the principal at Chrisney, Fred Ayers, was looking for a coach there, and I was looking for a job. I'd graduated from Wesleyan in '62 there, and I didn't want to go back to the clay pits and work there, so I was looking for a job, and he was looking for a coach. So my wife and I went up there and visited with him and his family, and it was a little town about like Lewisport, and I think much as anything else, I mean, I was hired to teach English and coach, but I think if Fred was really truthful, I think he'd say he hired me to coach. I can't see him hiring a country boy from western Kentucky to come over to southern Indiana to teach English. So I was really fortunate that they had a wealth of talent there at Chrisney whenever I first started coaching, and I think they knew it, and they wanted somebody that was, you know, primarily a baseball man. So I started off there in '62, and like I said, between '62 and '64, we had a winning streak of 44 consecutive games. So that gives you an indication that the type of talent that we had. So that was one of my more, you know, it wasn't a learning experience. I guess it was a learning experience. I had to learn to let the kids to play, and of course whenever 65, 66 came along, I finally decided, well, coaching talent only takes you so far. So the next 29 years I had to do a little bit more coaching than I did with that original bunch. But I had some real outstanding talent there. I had a couple of real good pitchers that they always felt like that if we'd have had a tournament back there in those days, well then we could have been, you know, we could have made a little splash there on the state tournament. I had a left-handed pitcher that went down and pitched at Ole Miss for 4 years, and then a right-handed pitcher that played for Itchy Jones at Southern Illinois, and he was in the Cardinal organization, and he got up to AAA before he busted a knee. So those kids were real talented, and they carried me a long ways when I first that kind of whet my appetite as far as coaching, and I followed up with it and stayed with it for another 20, 30 years.
And then when you became the head coach at Heritage Hills, you also were the athletic director as well at Heritage Hills High School, as well as the head baseball coach. And as it says here, one of the most memorable experiences after an umpire had kicked you out of a game, as an AD, it says you elected not to pay that umpire, give his game check to him for a short time period there. So that'd be one of the interesting situations, as being the AD and the head baseball coach, is you're the one that's responsible for paying those umpires on a nightly basis.
Well, yeah, there's several of the coaches there in Southern Indiana who probably know who I was talking about there. Stevie Phillips, he was a little short, heavy-set guy, and we had a pretty good-sized catcher, and he couldn't see around the catcher, so he'd get over to the side. He had one eye that kind of wandered a little bit too, so we had a pitcher that could throw pretty good, and he was, old Stevie wasn't giving him the outside corner on the curveball, so I went out there and talked to him. That was the week before. And the next week we hired him back again. He came here and he's doing the same thing. So I went out there on a mound and I said, look. So I said, told the pitcher and the catcher, I said, just wait a little bit. So Stevie's going to come out here and I want to get a piece of him. Well, that didn't last too long till he ran me off. But the game was over, so I didn't pay him. And then he called some of the athletic directors around, wanted to know when he's going to get paid, so I finally mailed him the check. So Stevie wasn't he was an umpire, I guess you'd say. Some of the other people kind of used him a little bit too. I think they used him up at Jasper every once in a while for a little light humor, So he refereed or umpired a whole lot around in the area, but that was just one instance. I never did get thrown out of very many games. I always told everybody, I said I never did get thrown out of a game by a good umpire, but so I guess I'm saying Stevie wasn't very good, but he was adequate. But umpires, good umpires are not hard to find, but good umpires are hard to find. So yep. I don't know where Stevie would fit into that category, but he umpired a whole lot for us.
We're visiting with Henry Ayers. He's a member of the 2014 Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame induction class, and Henry, some of your accomplishments coaching high school baseball at Christie and Heritage Hills: 21 conference championships, 6 sectional championships, 1 regional championship. Tremendous accomplishments. And one thing we have to point out, that area of the state, southwestern Indiana, is a big-time hotbed for baseball, particularly high school baseball and amateur baseball. So you were obviously, during those years as coaching, competing against some of the best athletes that this state has ever produced in baseball.
We did. They had South Spencer, or Rockport especially, was a hotbed there for a long time, and of course I played some baseball there, and they had some really successful teams. And maybe one of the 84 team that we had at Heritage Hills there, we won 24 games, and Don Poole up at Jeffersonville beat us in the semi-state there. But the thing I remember mostly about that team is that our kids had always played baseball, summer baseball, at the Christie kids and the Heritage Hills too. The better kids, they played with the Rockport American Legion team. So in 1984, then the team qualified to play in the World Series, the American Legion World Series. So Coach Jim HOF and the Rockport American Legion team, they took 6 of our kids down there to play in New Orleans. These are, small town kids. It's a real experience to go down there to New Orleans and see the big time, see how the other part of the world lives. So that was a real experience that I enjoyed with those kids.
Of course, the Hall of Fame is located down in southwestern Indiana, there at Jasper, at the Vincennes Jasper campus. What's it going to mean to you, Henry, to have your plaque permanently housed in that beautiful Hall of Fame museum down there?
Well, that'll be really nice. I've been in there a few times and looked around at some of those fellas, and some of them are, of course, a whole lot older than I am, but I may be one of the older ones in there now, since I was selected by the Veterans Committee there. I'd been nominated a couple times in the 80s, but never received enough votes. So I really appreciate Tim nominating me and the voting me in. So there'll be a lot of us around, and like I said, it's down there close to home, so a lot of people will be a little bit more aware of what's in the Hall of Fame now.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us here on our red carpet show, Henry, and best of luck to you, and congratulations on the honor. Good luck, and have fun at the banquet tonight.
I will. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
That's Henry Ayers, the 166th inductee into the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame. We'll take a short time out, and we'll be back to visit with one of the another nominee another inductee right after this. Yep. We're back again here as our Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association Red Carpet Hall of Fame induction special continues here from the Keystone at the Crossing at Sheridan Hotel here at the Keystone at the Crossing. We're going to talk about Coach Lou Giovannini. Now he's a member of this 2014 Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame inductee class. He's the 167th inductee, and he's going to be represented tonight by John Major. He will accept the award tonight on behalf of Coach Giovannini at the banquet, and John's going to talk with us a little bit now here on the red carpet induction show here about Coach Lou Giovannini. Lou is down in Venice, Florida. That's where he resides now. I understand he recently, not too long ago, had a bone marrow transplant, John, and I understand he's doing quite well, but is still not able to travel.
Right. This is day 77. They recommend 100 days in that area, and he's probably in March. He's looking to come down to up to Columbus and get his plaque and visit with the baseball team. And but he's doing real well, and he's very humbled and proud of this honor, and just happy to step in for him today. And but he's doing well.
Well, that's good to hear, and I'm sure all his former players and supporters down there in Columbus are happy to hear that. Lou was the head baseball coach at Columbus East for 23 years, compiling a record of 513 wins and 146 losses, and has been inducted as the 167th inductee into the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame as a coach. Originally graduated from Clinton High School in 1957. That's now been consolidated into South Vermilion High School, and then went on to play, went on collegiately at Indiana State University, where he graduated in 1961. What do you know about Coach Lou Giovannini's high school and collegiate baseball playing career before he became a high school baseball coach?
I know I've Googled him and all that, and actually in basketball at Talk-Tally he was a fierce competitor, and definitely saw that when I played for him. And in college, my dad actually played basketball and baseball with him at Indiana State. And but Coach, whatever he's in, he definitely, people say they strive to be the best, but he definitely puts as much effort into it as anybody. He's also in the softball Hall of Fame, and till recently was still competitive with the seniors, and we'd bring him back to East once in a while to talk to the team, and I'd let him in. He'd be working on the tee, hitting the softball, and you'd see him just really get, really thinking about the swing, and so attention to detail was one of his key strengths too. He just left no stone unturned, and was definitely great to play for him.
We're visiting with John Major, who's going to be accepting the Hall of Fame induction for Coach Lou Giovannini tonight at the banquet. Coach Lou Giovannini was nominated by John Graffs of Columbus and will be presented tonight by Ray Howard, who, by the way, is the executive director of the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame. And John, you played for Lou Giovannini from 81 to 83. Talk to me a little about the experience of playing for a Hall of Fame baseball coach.
You went out on the diamond, you always felt confident, like you had a real good shot to win. If it was a tight game, you thought Coach is going to come up with something where we're going to pull this one out. I'm coaching now, and I'm an assistant coach at East, and it's it's tough as a coach when a game's going on to really control things, but you really had a lot of confidence in Coach. Ray Howard, actually, we had a extra we played in the Jasper Tourney in '82, and he was coaching, and we ended up going extra innings and won a close game. But Coach just, you learn to really compete under him. With Coach, it's all about team. He's not one of those guys, I won this many games, I did this. When we bring him back, I introduce him to the players, and I say Coach had 500 wins. He's actually third all-time of retired coaches in winning percentage.
Wow.
But Coach would always correct me, Mage, it wasn't me, it was the team. So it was about team. A lot of people, with his competitiveness, they don't quite know the person he is, and but it was great to play for. It was tough. We all enjoyed it, and we did a lot of running if we would lose. We were at Bloomington South one year, and we got beat 3-1, I think. And I was actually talking to Greer Warner earlier. He was the coach there, and we start running sprints, and they had the prom that night. And next thing you know, players we played against are coming back for the prom, and we're still running sprints. So it's kind of legendary with former players that what was the most you ever ran or something like that. But the last one down, I already had my tennis shoes on. There's dew on the grass. I go to plant. It was down and back on the last one. I went flying. So I wasn't real happy with Coach that night. But he was fun to play for.
Well, you said he was one that never liked to talk about his accomplishments, but he had a great coaching career at Columbus East for 23 years as the varsity baseball coach, 8 Hoosier Hills Conference championships, 14 sectionals, 9 regionals, 3 semi-state championships, took 3 different teams to the state baseball Final Four in 1979, 87, and 89. So he certainly had some great players and great teams down there in Columbus East during his coaching career.
He sure did. He did. And he made, some years you have better players than others, and I think he got the most out of everything he had. And you hear an old story where you give him yours, he'll beat you, and he'll beat you with his. So Coach got the most out of us, and I think again going back to how detail oriented he was, the practices were well organized. I think back at that time, his practice were kind of like a college practice, and it just no wasted time, and got the most out of his players.
8 Hoosier Hills Conference Coach of the Year awards, 15 times won 20 or more wins in a season. And John, you mentioned a little bit about basketball. You'd known a little bit. You'd talked to him about some of his basketball experiences in 1959 when at Indiana State he had a chance to play in the NAIA tourney in Kansas City. That had to be a great experience for him. But then I think one of the things we should touch on, he was also the head basketball coach at Columbus East for a while as well. And I believe it was 1977. I believe they went to the Final Four in Indianapolis as he was the head coach there. They were actually defeated by Carmel in the afternoon game in the semifinals, and of course Carmel went on to stun a team, East Chicago Washington team in the state championship game later that night on a shot right at the end of regulation to beat a great Drake Merritt Morris Washington team, and Columbus East was a part of that state finals that year.
They were, and I was actually up there watching it, and Coach, just like in basketball too, they really played as a team. Didn't really have any they had some good players, but no superstars, and just really worked the ball. They played tough defense, good team defense, and Coach's wife, Kathy, she's his rock. She used to keep score for us in baseball and was always on the bench. But finally, just his passion for both sports and the time he put into them, finally had to pick one. And
okay.
So he chose baseball, and we're glad he did. And because being 5'10", I didn't get a chance to play basketball.
But I'm sure the community down there at that time in 1977, being in high school basketball, they had to be in a frenzy with Columbus East making the Final Four that year.
Yeah, it was a big time, and Mark Herman played on that Carmel team, and everybody had their cars, with the stickers on them and the paint and whatnot, and it just came up a little short. But Coach always, like I said, he always gave his team a real good chance to win, and he's definitely, after my dad, he's the next male role model guy I look up to and really respect, and we love the guy, and he's a fighter, and he's doing well with his illness, and Coach always stayed in great shape too, so that's helping. And
well, that's some thoughts here from John Major, who played for Lou Giovanini, Columbus East head coach for 23 years. John played for him from 81 to 83. And, John, I'm sure you've had a chance to talk with Lou about what it means to him about being this honor, being inducted into the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame. What has he had to share with you about that?
He's really humbled, very proud, and talks about it, how his players, he's thankful to the administration at the time. But really comes down to he's thankful. He says, I had a lot of great players and whatnot, and but mainly it was his coaching. He just brought the best out of everybody, and got the most, season to season, game to game. With Coach Giovanini, you had a good shot to, win that game, or if it was tournament time, to advance, and just never got to that final game, but it wasn't because of coaching for sure.
Well, John, we appreciate you stopping by and sharing some thoughts with us about your head baseball high school coach, Lou Giovanini, at Columbus East, and who is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame here tonight, Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame. Have fun tonight accepting the honor on his behalf.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
We're going to take another short time out, and we'll come back and talk to the last inductee into the 2014 class right after this. Yeah, that's fine. Eric Eaton. Eric Eaton. Yeah, nice to meet you.
This right, or?
Yep, you got it right.
Okay. What you gonna do? Hug him or what? No, isn't that you want a picture, right?
Okay, we'll go ahead and start then. Welcome back to the 2014 Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame Red Carpet Induction Show. I'm Eric Eaton, and I'm pleased to be joined now by the fifth member of the 2014 Hall of Fame class, Rodney Cool Breeze Scott. Actually is the only player that member to be inducted as a player in this year's class. The other four individuals were inducted as coaches. Rodney had a chance to play professional baseball for a number of teams, but primarily with the Montreal Expos in the early 1980s. And Rodney, thank you for joining us here on our show tonight. And what's it mean to you to be inducted into this Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame here later tonight?
Well, it's a great honor, and I thank everyone that's gave me the opportunity to be a part of this exceptional Hall of Fame or whatever.
Well, you're from Indianapolis originally. Graduated from Indianapolis Arlington High School in the early 1970s. Also played basketball and football. In fact, all state in all three sports here in the city in the early 1970s. And we know this city has obviously produced great athletes in all three of those sports. So that had to be a tremendous thrill, being all state in all three of those sports.
Well, I was just blessed, and I just enjoyed playing sports. So therefore, I just participated and did the best I could.
And then also in 1972, an Indiana basketball all-star as well. Had a chance to play on the all-star team. What was that like?
Oh, that was great. Played with a lot of guys. Played college basketball. Tom Abernathy, Bruce Parkinson went to Purdue. Bobby Wilkerson, another IU graduate, and played in the NBA for a little while. But that was just a great honor, along with being inducted into the Hall of Fame in baseball.
And played for Indianapolis, Arlington in all three of those sports. Talk with me a little about your high school baseball career there with the Golden Knights. What was that like?
Well, I played 4 years. I played from a freshman all the way through being a senior. It was a great experience. I did a lot of pitching, a lot of shortstop, some third base. Won a lot of games, pitched a few no-hitters, one-hitters, three-hitters, and just great experience. But I never did. My senior year, I didn't get to play in sectionals because I got drafted to play professionally baseball, and I chose to play baseball. But going back to being on the Indiana All-Stars, I had to choose between being on the Indiana All-Stars or playing the sectional baseball tournament. And by me getting drafted, I figured I'd play baseball, so I couldn't play in the sectional baseball because of the basketball, being on the All-Star team.
Okay. We're visiting with Rodney Coolbreeze Scott, who's the 169th inductee into the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame, nominated by the Veterans Committee, and will be presented tonight by Don Lostutter of Madison. Then, after graduating from Indianapolis, Arlington, you got drafted to play professional baseball in the 11th round that year by the Kansas City Royals, and ended up playing professional baseball from 72 to 1983. Was that something you definitely had your eye on coming out of high school, was to play professional baseball?
Well, not really. My first love was baseball, and the reason I chose baseball over basketball is my grandfather, which is no longer with us, fell and had a stroke at a Little League baseball game, and he didn't live long enough to see me playing the other sports, so I just chose baseball over basketball and football.
So then from 1972, you were drafted, as I said, by the Kansas City Royals. We're in the minor leagues from 1973 to 76. Talk to me a little about your minor league baseball experience before you eventually got called up and played for the Oakland Athletics in 1977.
Well, I was drafted, like say, in 72. I played in the Gulf Coast League in Florida. We won the league. I ended up batting like 376, second in the league. I don't know if you remember Willie Randolph. He led the league that year, but we won the championship. It was in 73, 74. I played in Waterloo, Iowa. We won the championship there. I led the league in stolen bases. And the year after that, spring training, I went from A-ball all the way to the major leagues, and I was there for a little while. And ended up going back and forth from A-ball, AA, AAA. Ended up getting traded the following season to the Montreal Expos.
And from 1979 to 81, you played for the Montreal Expos, and they had some good teams there in the early 1980s, and you had some great teammates as well. Talk a little bit about that experience and some of the players you get to play with.
Well, a lot of great guys. We came up through the minor leagues together. But Andre Dawson, Ellis Valentine, Juan Camargo, was probably best three youngest outfielders in the game at that time. Tony Perez also was on the team, played first base. One year, Ron LaFleur was on a teammate. And, I mean, the list goes on and on. You name them, I played against them or with them. So it's just been a great experience.
Well, you were an infielder for the Expos. It says here, obviously, during your minor league career and your major league career, exceptional at stealing bases. In the minors, it says from 72 to 73, 84 stolen bases and 92 chances. And in 1980, you teamed with Ron LaFleur. You just talked about to break the stolen base record for teammates in a single season. You had 63 stolen bases, and LaFleur had 97. What was it about the art of stealing base that just kind of went your way and you were so successful at it?
Well, to me, it's the art of stealing bases is keep your eyes on the ball, or no matter where it's at, As long as you keep your eyes on the ball, you always know where it is. And being a runner, you have to know where the ball is at all times, because pitchers tend to do a lot of funny things with the ball. So therefore, when they're not paying attention to you and maybe rubbing their feet on the dirt or whatever, might take off and they not even know that I was running. So it's just the art of keeping your eyes on the ball.
Top 5 all-time in the National League for stolen bases in a career. 1981, you're nominated for the National League All-Star team. It says here in 1979 through 81, according to your manager at the time for the Montreal Expos, Dick Williams, he thought you were the team MVP of the team. So that has to be quite an honor, knowing that your manager thought you were one of the most valuable player on the Expos team at that time.
Well, he was a great manager, and I'm sorry he's gone now, but he was a great instructor, teacher, and he just know the game, and he knows it takes more than just hitting and running, and averages. So therefore, he just figured, I did pretty much everything to help a team win.
Anything stand out in particular for you over your course of your baseball career, either at the high school or professional level, that you're particularly proud of?
Well, in high school, I'm particularly proud of winning the city championship in my senior year in 1972. We were like 21-4 that season, but we won the city championship. And back then, it was like 16 high schools in Indianapolis, so you had to be on your game to win a city championship.
Well, it says here you have the nickname Cool Breeze. Rodney Cool Breeze Scott is what it says here in the program. Well, where did the nickname Cool Breeze come from?
One of my ex-teammates, John Mayberry with the Kansas City Royals, and where he got it from, I have no idea. For what reason, I don't know. But he just started calling me Cool Breeze, and it just stuck.
Well, congratulations, Rodney. It's a tremendous honor being inducted into the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame, the 169th inductee. Any thoughts about taking to that podium tonight and giving a speech here tonight at this awards banquet on being inducted into the Hall of Fame?
The only thing is, through God, anything's possible, and I just want to thank everybody for letting me into the Hall.
Well, congratulations on the honor. Have fun at the banquet tonight. Thanks for talking with us.
Thank you.
That's Rodney Cool Scott Breeze, the 169th inductee into the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame. Well, that's about going to wrap up our program here tonight, the 2014 Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame Inductions Red Carpet Show here from the Sheraton, Keystone at the Crossing here in Indianapolis. Again, all part of the state clinic here hosted each January by the Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association. A couple people that we do need to thank. We want to thank Tim Nante and also Gary O'Neill of the Indiana Baseball Coaches Association for helping us line up our guests tonight, the inductees into the Hall of Fame, so we could have the interviews for you here on the red carpet presentation. We also want to thank Chris McIntyre. He's the president of the Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association, current head baseball coach at New Albany, and also Brian Abbott, executive director of the Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association. Had a chance to know Brian over the years. Great individual, does a great job running the Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association. Ray Howard is the executive director of the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame. That Hall of Fame is located in the Ruxer Student Union on the campus of Vincennes, Jasper. If you get a chance to go down there and visit that, it'll be well worth your time. And the website for that is the IndianaBaseballHallOfFame.org, IndianaBaseballHallOfFame.org. I also want to thank Jeff Sweetlou-Luzatter. He ran the camera and assisted with the audio tonight here on our broadcast of this Hall of Fame Inductions Red Carpet Show. That's going to about do it here for this broadcast. We want to thank our guests here tonight, Dave Bischoff, Lou Giovanini, Gary DeHaven, Rodney Cool Breeze Scott, Henry Ayers, and John Majors, who actually represented Lou Giovanini here tonight here on the Indiana Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame Red Carpet Induction Show. That's going to wrap it up. I'm Eric Eaton saying so long, everyone, and thanks for watching.